most of us start photography as a passion, something that we love to do. We love that creative part of it. But as you begin to grow as a business owner, I feel like your outlook begins to change. Some people don't change because they want to retain that creativity and they just want to be creative. But once you're thinking of running this as a business, your outlook begins to change a little bit to a business owner, and all the things that come with that is slightly different. I typically joke and say I'm one of those people that really didn't get into photography. It was more like photography got into me. I grew up in, that teenager who just had a camera around, played with film a lot, and just really spent my teenage years having, developing that passion and that interest in that area. And then before you knew it, I was the unofficial photographer for everything. I feel like because today my outlook is more of a business owner than an artist that just wants to create and have fun. Because when I started, I had no idea that I would be doing photography for so long and it would become everything that I was doing.
Hi, and welcome to Behind the Lens, a photographer's life. And this week we've got Caroline. Hi, Caroline.
Hey, Andrew, how are you?
I'm good. So, for everybody in the world, can you tell us all where you are based? What's your studio called?
Mm-hmm. So my studio is called Studio Belle, as in Belle, and I live in beautiful Calgary, in Canada.
Right. So, have you always been in Calgary? Is that where you've...
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, I only moved to Calgary about a year ago, so I've only been in Calgary about a year. Before then, I lived in Vancouver, in Canada, where my studio was based out of. But just enjoying more of the country, I would say.
Right.
Not quite a country. I'm just kidding.
So, what made
Still a
the
city.
move? What was the reason for the move?
I think the biggest factor was economic. For the most part, it was just really. I mean, as you have kids and family grows, you want bigger spaces and stuff like that, and you want a more quieter life as well, in a way that you can kind of enjoy the moment more. And so we needed something outside of the big city to be able to do that, and we considered our options. Calgary was one of the places that was calling us, and it's been such a fantastic move since then.
Cool. Yeah, it's one of my places. When you look around the world, and I've told
Yeah.
you this before, when you look around the world, I went, that would be a nice place because I've got a love
Yes.
for the snow and skiing, and I have a studio somewhere like that where you've got the best. I'm very jealous of where you live. So yeah.
Thank you.
So when did you get into photography then? What started the journey?
Yeah, good question. I typically joke and say I'm one of those people that really didn't get into photography. It was more like photography got into me. I grew up in, that teenager who just had a camera around, played with film a lot, and just really spent my teenage years having, developing that passion and that interest in that area. And then before you knew it, I was the unofficial photographer for everything. I would always have a point and shoot camera in my hand to every event. Once I got digital, and it just kind of grew from there. I never planned to be a photographer. As a matter of fact, I only started shooting for money when I was in grad school. And I was like, okay, you know what? This is one thing that I know how to do. Why can't I just earn a couple extra bucks, doing it? And somehow it has
Right.
evolved. And this was about 11 years ago now, almost 12. And it has evolved to a fully functioning, um, portrait studio today. Yeah, photography got me.
Right.
Right.
So how did it evolve? So if you were doing work while you were at grad school,
Hmm.
what did you do? What sort of
Yeah.
sessions did you do? Sessions with a what what did that
Right.
start and look like at that point in
Yeah.
time?
When I started in grad school, then it was more like, oh, like everybody knew I had a camera, and it was like, oh, grad photos. I'm graduating my master's degree. I'm graduating my PhD. Can you, go around with me and do photos for that? And I will do that for friends, and that was kind of the starting point in terms of charging people to do their sessions. And then after I finished grad school, I started venturing into more like family portraits, doing more people based photographs. I was never really a fan of events, weddings, and stuff like that. So I always kind of focused on portraits. And then family evolved to beauty and boudoir. And so right now I do a combination right now of beauty, boudoir, branding, and family still. So that's kind of the way it has evolved over the years, and I feel like a lot of it too probably has had to do with my own stage of life in a way. Because once I finished grad school, we started a family, and just kind of started growing from there personally, and it just kind of has evolved based off of the kind of people that I was relating with. The kind of people that I was friends with who were also people who were hiring me, right? Yeah, so I think pretty much just evolved with my life in that sense.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that period then, obviously, before you had a studio, how
Hmm.
long was that where you were actually working and involved in photography and earning living from it, sort of, should
Yeah.
I say,
Like before I
before
had
you
a
actually,
physical studio, you
yeah,
mean?
before you had a physical studio,
That was so my first physical studio was actually in my apartment, and that was 2016, I believe.
right?
So, um,
So
what's
how
that
long
now?
before
8 years
that were
ago
you,
then?
how many years
So
or how long were you working before you actually made
I
that
would
decision?
say about maybe 4 years before I
That's
actually
quite a
had
time.
that. Yeah, yeah.
So how did you do that? How did that work out? What were you doing to work with clients and get around not having a studio?
Right. I did a lot of on location work, for sure, especially at the beginning and then doing families. And then I remember once I went full time and, started doing networking and meeting more people in the business arena. I would have, more business headshots and stuff like that. So that I would have like mini backdrops that I took with me to
Right?
places. So sometimes I would set up for headshots in people's homes. There was a lady that I partnered with who had a boutique, and she had like a nonprofit organization to her boutique, which helped women. And then sometimes I would partner with her. I remember doing a particular special with clients where we used her boutique space because she had this like mezzanine sort of space where I would set up, and then we did a thing where people could like rent the outfits in her boutique to even use for their sessions and stuff like that. So it was just really working around different situations, whether it was creating studios in places, in people's homes, partnering with other businesses, stuff like that. To then my apartment. So after a while, I kind of carved out a space in my apartment to be able to do more sessions. And after that, it was just, opening it. No, actually, after that, we did move houses to get a bigger house.
Right?
And then, so we got multiple levels. And then the first floor with the living room, I turned that into a studio before I actually went out of the home studio
Okay.
to get a space just for the studio itself. Yeah.
So when you first started out in those few years before you actually moved into your apartment side of things, how did you sell work? Did you sell it prior? Did you sell it at the time? Did you show portraits, or did you even sell portraits, or what
Yeah.
what were you
I
doing?
mean,
How
at
did
the
that
very
work?
beginning, I was like all digital, just send them a gallery full of photographs and stuff like that, up till about 2016. 2016 was when I really started getting into like learning the value of art pieces and being able to understand, been more of that creator, and seeing my clients through the experience. And then, so once I started doing that and offering to decorate people's homes and fill their homes with beauty and stuff like that with their photographs, I would sell wherever I needed to. At the top of my head, I remember going to people's homes, did some of that in there. I would do it in a restaurant. Panera Bread was a great place for that. I had one that was close to my home, or in my home too. So it was as needed, depending on the need of the clients. But I was not afraid to just be able to pull up a computer somewhere and just be able to help a client navigate choosing the artwork that was most feeding for them. Whether it was their home, or mine, or in a restaurant. It was just as needed. Yeah.
Do you think that was a good learning curve then? Did that give you a good grounding for moving on to selling portraits?
Absolutely, because I feel like sometimes we do get in our own way, and we feel like everything has to be perfect, and like as if like that's what the clients are coming for. Because I know that if I had waited to have it all perfect and be able to have a space where I could sell, I would never have done it. And even as my studio has evolved over the years, having dedicated spaces, I still don't feel like I'm in the most perfect or in the most dreamy, in the place of my dreams. Let's put it that way, where I actually want to be. So, like, if I didn't start this many years ago, I would still be waiting for that dream to manifest today before I actually got into action and kind of started making stuff, which sometimes I tend to do with things, just trying to be a perfectionist, trying to make sure that everything is perfect. But um, that's not always what people are looking for. People have a need, and being able to meet them wherever they are sometimes is the best way to go. And on the flip side of that, as a business owner, is just never waiting for everything to be perfect, but just working out what you have in your hand and evolving as you go. Because I feel like the destination always changes. One day it was, oh, I just want to be able to sell products, to, oh, I want to be able to have, a dedicated space where I could have all these wall pieces and fancy things to show clients. And then the next dream is, I want to have this luxurious looking space where people can feel like, oh my gosh, when they come
Yeah.
in. And that's probably going to change in another
If you
couple of years. Who knows, right?
Yeah, I think there's too many people wait for all the ducks to be in a row before they
Yes.
start. And if you
Yeah,
wait for that,
absolutely.
you'll never
No,
start. You've just got to jump
exactly.
in and go for it, haven't you?
Exactly. Yeah, you just got to jump in.
So, so, so you moved from an apartment sort of studio to a home studio, and you said on your was it your basement floor or ground floor? Was it
It
the
was like
ground
the
floor
ground floor.
that
So
you
it
had?
was a townhouse, right? And then there's multiple floors. So it was on the
Okay,
ground floor. I mean, there was still a kind of staircase to kind of get from um I know you guys describe it differently than in North America. I think is ground floor and then first floor for you guys, and then here everything is just first floor and second floor, and it just kind of goes up from there. Yeah, so it was kind of the main living area. Let's just put it that way, for ease of what.
yeah.
Just to visualize it, right? It was the main living room area where I converted into a studio.
And how long did you have that as your studio?
Probably about 2 to 3 years, I think. Yeah, if I
Okay.
remember correctly. Yeah,
And
two
did you
to three
call
years.
and when did the name come about then? Did the name
When
come
did the
straight
name of the
away?
studio?
Yeah. When did you name the studio?
Oh, so I had named my studio in 2016 was when I registered the name, and at that time though it was a different name. So it was Fractal Studio at the time, and it was Fractal Studio till last year. Okay. And so it wasn't until 2024 that we changed the name to Studio Bell because it's just easier to pronounce.
Right.
And people didn't have to ask me, where did the word fractal come from?
Where did it come from? Tell us, where did that
It
one come
was
from?
it's a fictitious word. It was just made up from like names, and I love the meaning and the word of the word fractal,
Yeah,
right? It's really just, you know, creating beauty from chaos, right? I
yeah,
love
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And so it was a combination of that and, different names and stuff like that, but it was just completely made up.
Right. So you decided to do, and what was the rationale? Was it just purely the name is easy to say, or was
Most of it really easier to say, easier to spell, and I wanted people to also be able to just grasp or at least get a glimpse of what we did right from the name.
yeah,
And
oh,
that's how Studio Bell came by. But
yeah,
yeah, it was mostly just for that ease of recognition and to spell and not have to like. And then the other thing too is was that there was another studio, even though they were like in a different country entirely, called Fractal Studio. So like often people would go to fractalstudio.com instead of Fractal Studio. Like there were like a couple of different occasions where we were sponsoring, a couple of organizations, and I would see the Fractal Studio Company website and logo on their website as the sponsor when it was us. And I'm like, you could just have asked for our logo and you would have to write one. But hey, you just put a different company on it. So all of that mixed up, right? It wasn't just super helpful.
right.
Let's put it
Yeah,
that way.
yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. So yeah, it's quite an important thing, really, isn't it? A lot of people probably don't think about the name because 90% of photographers, the studio is their name, their personal name,
Yes.
you know.
Yes. It was something that I considered for a long time. And, I felt like, okay, maybe that should be it. But I don't know why. I just couldn't come to terms with it, really. I have no reason
Well,
for it.
yeah. I mean, I know of
Yeah.
another photographer that you know as well. Their studio in the UK is not called their name because they purposely chose it because they think, well, when I want to retire and want to sell a studio, I'm not selling
Mm,
my name, I'm selling a studio with a
right.
name, which
Right.
makes
I
sense,
mean, there's
really.
different school of thoughts regarding that, right? But I can totally understand where each person is kind of coming from because most photographers fly solo, so it's really the person that clients are paying to see, right? I mean, people have different visions, and so being able to have a different vision that says, I want to be able to retire and have my studio continue without me being the only person that they're coming for. That's a different kind of vision, and that's okay too. But yeah, I can totally see both sides for sure.
So changing your name then, did it help? Has it helped? Have you
I
noticed a
I don't
difference?
know. I don't know. There's been too many factors to be able to isolate one thing that's helped or happened differently, for sure. Because we changed it right at the time of moving. So in Calgary, people have not really known anything else other than
Right.
Studio.
So there wasn't the too many variables to see the data. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So how many people work with you? Are you on your own or how many staff have you got? Have you got staff?
Yeah, so I got a couple of people on the team at the moment. We are three. I'm actually hiring and onboarding two more people before the end of the month. So we're going to be five very soon. And who knows where we'll go from there.
Right. That's quite a lot. So what is everybody a photographer or each different what
No,
jobs?
I actually had a photographer on the team up till earlier this year. I had an associate photographer with me. I think I will still like to bring in somebody else later on this year, but no, not everybody's a photographer at the moment.
So what jobs do people tend to do then?
Yeah, so
What
I have someone who one of the people I'm onboarding would be more like helping with the sales and administrative part of it. I would say
okay.
almost everybody's some sort of administration and then marketing, like putting together like all the behind the scenes work of marketing and stuff like that. One of the people that I'm hoping to bring in is supposed to help with like social media, some more digital marketing and stuff like that. And then just lots of help in the studio, setting up, also with like album design, retouching, all that kind of stuff, like all the back end kind of stuff that's not always client facing, but that we still do and that people don't always see.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so those
yeah.
are the kind of things that I have different people doing. We're kind of expanding that too because I do need to get more stuff off my hands right now. I'm drowning a little bit in all the things that I have to do. So it's also a learning curve to see how much can run without me. So it remains to be seen.
So, who could you not do without? I know you probably want to say all of them, but if you were to think about the person that's probably most important to you in the studio, apart from obviously yourself, who's that person?
I mean,
And you
I
probably
don't
don't want
think
to
I
say
can
this
answer.
because the staff might watch this, but
Well,
you
there
know,
is
and
that, but I don't even think I can, accurately answer that right now because some of them are so new, and I don't think it's fair to them to um, not consider them when they're not super new, right? And some of them have not even
yeah.
started yet, right? So it's all a developing story. Maybe if you ask me in another couple of months, I will have an answer to that.
So, all right, so I'll ask it in a different way. If
Okay,
I was to get somebody after me, who would you go for next and why?
I don't think I understand that. Could you ask that again?
Right. So if me being on my own and I'm now going to employ somebody to work with me,
Yeah,
and if
yeah.
I was you, who would you, what would you think would be the best person for me to employ if if I was running your
Well,
business,
I
if I was in
mean,
your studio, what would you go for
if you
after
were in my
you?
studio, that's a little different than, let's say, if you were completely on your own and you wanted to start hiring someone. So, like, if I was completely on my own, doing everything by myself, the first thing that I want to hire someone for would be the editing part. Just to just get that off of me, and then of course assisting in the studio. So moving lights, making sure that everything is set for the clients, welcoming clients, all that kind of stuff as well, for sure. And then I would move to like production part, like album design. At least that's how I have done it.
So,
The
so
parts that client
it's
don't.
all the time consuming things. It
Yes, right.
yeah,
The things that
right.
are not, I mean, they don't necessarily make you the money, but there are things that we have to do once the
Right.
money comes
Yeah.
in,
Yeah.
right?
It's an
Uh,
essential part, but it's
yep.
and a lot of and that's I suppose there's a lot of photographers out there go, but that's what I love doing. You know, they love the
Yeah.
creative side of it, but it doesn't
Yeah.
make them any money. The
I mean, it
actual
depends on where you are at, really. You use most of us start photography as a passion, something that we love to do. We love that creative part of it. But as you begin to grow as a business owner, I feel like your outlook begins to change. Some people don't change because they want to retain that creativity and they just want to be creative, but once you're thinking of running this as a business, your outlook begins to change a little bit, to a business owner, and all the things
yeah.
that come with that
So
is just slightly different.
yeah, and I get that. So it's like a financial switch, isn't it? It's either I'm going to be a creator for me and
Mm-hmm.
earn a living, and I
Mm-hmm.
suppose there's a limit to how much you can physically do on your own and
On your
make.
own, right?
So then after that, you've got to flick that switch to say, right, the next step is I'm not going to be the creator, I'm going to be the owner, and
Right.
we're going to make a lot of money from this
Right.
as an industry. So
Yeah. I mean, yes and no. Again, I feel like the biggest part is what's motivating each person, right?
yeah,
Um, I know people that want to keep it at the level, and that's where they want to be, whether or not it makes them a lot of money or, you know, and I know people that grow and create teams just because they want more freedom personally, to do other things. While of course still being able to make money from the studio. And I know people that they just want to grow in terms of revenue, right? So I think it differs for
It's a
each person.
personal choice, isn't it? It's a personal
Mhm.
choice of where you'd like to be in your own life. And I think a lot of photographers don't realize that there's those choices to be made in when
Yeah.
you're starting out. You turn
Yeah.
around and go, "Oh, I fancy taking people's photographs."
Yes, that's kind of how most of us start, right?
Yeah,
You just want to
yeah.
take people's photographs. Yeah.
So, if you were starting again and you were back in 2016, would you go all guns in, or
Mm,
would you still go the way you've learnt and gone through the learning process that you've had? What would it be different?
that's a good question. Think that I mean, I wasn't the same person in 2016 that I am today. That's the thing, right?
Hmm.
If I knew everything that I know now at that time, I would definitely start differently.
Right.
There is something to be said for the learning process. There's something to be said for getting your hands dirty before growing. I feel like it grounds you in a way.
Yeah.
However, it's not necessarily the only way to go. If
Hmm.
I was this person that I am today in 2016, I would not start from the grinding, and I would know ways to speed up that learning process.
Yeah.
And I think that people who are starting today can still do that with a lot of mentorship, with a lot of like coaching, and just being able to learn from people that have gone ahead of you and believing what they tell you. Because sometimes it can be like, no, I'm not seeing it. And be just being willing to take the plunge. But yeah, if I was the person that I am today in 2016, I will definitely not be kind of starting from where I started in 2016 for sure.
Right. So,
Yeah.
what would be the main thing that you would do differently? What, just one thing? What would be,
Mm,
if you could say there's one big thing that you
mm.
would say, right, I would do this straight away, what would that be?
I mean, I feel like because today my outlook is more of a business owner than an artist that just wants to create and have fun. Because when I started, I had no idea that I would be doing photography for so long and it would become everything that I was doing, right?
Right.
So I would say that the one thing that I would do differently to be able to be the person I am today would be thinking as someone who was starting a business rather than I just want to take people's photos. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Like I
Yeah. Yeah.
am starting a
Yeah.
business and
Yes.
learn everything that it takes to start a business. Make sure a business is profitable, make sure the business is running, rather than, oh, let's just take people's photos and then start learning everything from there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a lot of people that forget that to earn a living, there's the key word that you said there is be profitable, you know,
Exactly.
and,
Yes.
uh, and that's, it doesn't matter if you're starting out, whatever you're doing, if you're not
Yeah.
profitable, what is the point? So
Exactly.
that's got to be the first, and that's where the business side of things comes in, isn't it? It's you've got
Yes.
to understand all the things that go on to be
Yes.
profitable before you can even charge somebody. But
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
when was that in? When did that realization hit you? Did it hit you pretty straight on early on, or has it taken time? Because we talked to Darren and Rianne several weeks ago,
Hmm.
and they said it took them years before they realized to be profitable. They were
Mm.
like they were living but not living until
Hmm.
like the penny dropped, sort of thing.
Yeah.
When did that penny drop for you?
Yeah. I think I was very lucky. I think for me, it started sooner after I decided, okay, I wanted to try to do this full time. It started because a friend of mine kind of got wind of what I was doing and what I was charging at that point. And she was like, "What are you doing? This is not going to work. You know, if this is how you want to make your living, you have to do things differently." So I would say probably less than a year into it was when she kind of nudged me and said, let's look into this and how you can do this differently. Um, and so it did hit me earlier on,
And what was she
but
called? Because
not as
that's a good
much.
friend. That must have been a
Yeah,
good friend. What's
no.
she called?
Say that again.
What was she called? Because she was a good friend to nudge you in the right way.
Oh, she's Melissa Jarvis, and what was I gonna say? I was gonna say that even at that point, it was still a little different than it is right now. Full understanding of numbers and everything. It was just like, okay, profitable. What does profitable even mean? Is that if I make 10K a year, is that enough? If I make 50K a year, that's that enough? At that point I was just like, okay, I need money to be able to pay my bills and eat and stuff like that. So yeah, a little at a time. But then you start like really thinking about the cost of everything and everything that goes into actually running a business, and you're like, oh, they said I need to get insurance too, and I need to get this too, and I need to have this gear, and I need to be able to make this products. And then it just kind of starts blowing up from there, like, okay, wait a minute. Yeah,
Yeah,
totally
it's
different world,
it's a it's a big thing because majority of photographers are very creative people, and
Yeah.
that side of the brain for the numbers and things is often a total separate side to being an artist.
Yeah.
And you hear so many that, and I think that's probably why there's so many fantastic photographers out there that have gone, that have probably
So true.
started and been amazing people and have
So
gone within the first 6 months to a year
yeah,
because
yeah.
that other side of the brain doesn't function very well.
Or it doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel comfortable.
Yeah,
I think comfortable more than authentic actually, because I, I mean, there's a whole lot of baggage for people around money, collecting money, charging,
yeah,
and stuff like that. Especially for something that you do with your whole heart and you just enjoy.
yeah,
I feel like there's a lot of baggage for people around that it feels like, why should I make a living out of this?
yeah. I
I
mean,
mean, on the flip side, why shouldn't you? But you know what I mean? Like, if it's something I'm just so passionate, I just love doing it.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. It's one of those things, isn't it? If you could do it for free and give it away for free and have that joy of spending time with
Yes.
people, photographing,
Yeah.
playing creatively, letting them enjoy it and have something beautiful for the wall, it would be
Yeah.
amazing. But
Right.
we all have to pay bills. We've all got,
I
you know,
know.
everything costs, doesn't it? There's
Exactly.
nothing free yet
And
in the world.
there's some
So,
there's something called retirement at some point. But I
yes.
mean, artists never retire, so maybe that's a thing. I don't know.
Well, is it a thing? Have you even considered that, Caroline? Have you, because like I've considered it, but I
Yeah.
can't think. But and I've even planned it, but I haven't because
Mm,
I plan my long term goal of this has got to happen because I'm getting older, and then I
right.
go, but I don't really want to plan that because I enjoy what I do.
Yes, yes.
So what
It's
about?
it's that thing of being an artist too, because at this point it's something that you do, but there's also the realistic part of it that our bodies will not be able to work the same way that it's working right now. So like, no matter how much you want to like be able to go out and do many many photo shoots and carry all the light stands, all the equipment,
Yeah,
and make it make sense money wise, there will be a time when our bodies just will not be able to do as much. So while I don't think of retirement like stopping what I'm doing and not photographing anymore, for example, it will shift to become a different thing.
right.
And, more than like, of course, what it is today. And I'm okay with that. But I know that the capacity to kind of earn in court will also change, when that time comes. And I think it's just natural to want to
Do you think
prepare
you'll
for
be?
that.
Do you think you'll be in a better position? because you've got staff and you've got a business, um, to maybe slowly step back and allow that to happen? Do you think that's more beneficial than being that one person that you've just suddenly got to go, that's it?
Yeah. I
Do you
mean,
think
I
it's
definitely
different?
think that that's a benefit to it. There is a benefit to it along those lines. Uh, but I mean, people management is not easy either. So
No, no.
you just gotta choose your battles, right?
Yeah, yeah.
um,
It's a trust.
but
It's a
yeah,
trust factor, isn't it, with a lot of people with running
yeah,
a business?
there
And
could be a benefit to it in that you do less. And hopefully you are able to build a business in a way that it can run mostly without you, but at the same
yeah, there's a
time,
problem. The always thing I think with that is if when you own it and you do less, they
yeah.
look at you going, "Oh well, they're slacking, I'll slack," and they,
Mm,
that, if the CEO starts stepping back and only doing, if everybody else goes, "Well, it's all right for them, so why am I busting my chops to earn them all the money?" It's that's the
I
thing
mean,
that I
yeah,
think of. You know,
I don't know, right?
it, yeah,
That's something we need to find out.
it,
But yeah.
It's yeah, there's a lot of thought, isn't there, of what you can and can't do, and what. So what would you like to be doing now? You said that you haven't got everything correct, but you're nearly
Mhm.
there, and you're new in Calgary. So
I
what
don't
would
know that
you
I'm nearly there.
what
I'm
would you
just
like to
always
be
working
doing?
my way towards it.
Yeah, if you could suddenly say all my ducks were in a row and everything was working
Wow.
well, what
Wow.
would that look like?
That's interesting. don't I don't know that I know what it would look like for all my ducks to be in a row because that
Right.
changes so frequently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's there must be some form of midterm, long-term goal in a way. Have
right.
you have you planned it like that, or have you just suddenly thought, "Oh, I just need to do this at the moment. I need to do that," and
Yeah.
constantly
I mean,
on
I
the
do have
treadmill, or have you thought about
ideas.
further? You got it right. So
Right.
for me, I know if my ducks were in a row at the moment, my studio would be redecorated a bit nicer, and I'd be really happy. That's
Okay. Well,
because that
when you put it like that, it brings the focus closer than, oh my gosh, the mirage of in the perfect world, what would this
yeah,
look like? You know,
yeah,
but like in this moment, I could probably come up with a couple of things that would that would help my ducks to be in a row. Um, I mean, one of those would probably be setting up our calendars much more properly so that we can kind of plan better in advance for the number of clients that I wish we're able to take, and that we're able to do, and actually being able to get like all the marketing and gear to be able to do that, and pretty much firing on all cylinders
cylinders,
and getting
right?
all the to-do lists done, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you calendars is a great one, isn't it? How far in advance will you go with your calendar? Would you let somebody book in for next year, for instance, or do you have time
Personally,
limits
not
on that?
really. Yeah, I mean, I've had a number of people who like to book so well in advance, but usually it's people that we probably need a payment plan in order to be able to completely pay for this, and I will be okay with that. I do have a number of people on the books like that. Excuse me, but my personal preference is for people to take action now.
Yeah, tomorrow,
What?
tomorrow.
Because I try to imagine the way that I feel about things. When I'm interested in something and I want to purchase it or I want this experience, more often than not, I want it right now.
Yeah, yeah,
um if the person, like, if I reach out to a vendor and they're not answering me fast enough, I'm probably going to lose interest, and it may come back another day. I may feel like doing another day, but in that moment I'm like, okay, this is what I need to do and I'm ready to do it now. So, like, I'm usually that kind of person. I'm not saying all our clients would be like that, but that's
No,
a personal
I
thing.
would say, but a big percentage. I always think for me, there's a
Yeah.
maximum of a month or two ahead.
Right.
You don't want to be
Right.
going any further than that.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. And
Yeah.
I've just got a client that's just suddenly asked me as if they can put it back for whatever, and I know their reason. And when you listen to their reason, I can totally get it, you know.
Yeah.
But it makes sense, and you go, well,
Yeah.
okay. But that's
Yeah.
very rare.
Yeah.
Most people are wanting to be in a short a period. So
Absolutely.
if it was your sweet spot, what would your sweet spot be? 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, five, six? What would you say would
No,
be
I think
your
my sweet spot is about 3 weeks to a month.
right?
Um,
Yeah,
enough for people to kind of be able to figure out, okay, scheduling and make plans for it financially as well. Um, but yeah, I think my sweet spot is usually 3 weeks to a month.
yeah, yeah. I probably agree with that personally. Uh, it seems about right because people can get the people to look after whoever if they've got family, they can bring the family
Exactly.
together, and if they want
Right.
to get the hair done or whatever, they've got time to do all
Yes.
those things, isn't it?
Yes.
That people want to do beforehand. So yeah.
Yeah.
It, so you do primarily what genre at the moment? Because you said at the start you did a bit of everything, and I know
Hmm.
you do a bit of everything, but what do you do more of, or what excites you the most when you get a client and you
That
think, "Oh,
question.
I've
I
put
don't
this
know. As
particular
long as
type
I
of
get
client in."
people in my door and they're ready to pay me money, I'm excited. So I'm fine with that. But I think what I do more of in the moment will be the beauty boudoir genre, and then branding, and then family. Branding and family are probably on par
Right?
with each other, and then beauty and boudoir would be like at the top, and then those two would be next after.
Yeah. There's a lot more beauty and boudoir that you tend to hear of than family sort of. And family is one of those things that it's been done for years and years and years, and it's sad that in a way that it's difficult. I think it's slightly more difficult to do, and not because of the photography. It's getting the family together,
I think that's the major pain point for a lot of people. Even with
and it
people that do family portraits with us, it's really good, especially when you have older kids, which tend to be the average family that works with us. It's, families are so busy, so many things kids are doing, activities kids are doing these days. It just tends to be a lot that trying to
yeah,
find time. On the flip side of that, it's also why I think family photography is more important than ever, because we're just all
definitely,
so busy with life that we're not making that time, that it kind of feels almost like pulling tooth to be able to create that time for everybody to come together
yeah,
when it used to be a staple, right? But I do find that too to be a thing that has evolved over the last decade, with families for
yeah.
sure.
And I think there's an easy option not to do it because
Yeah,
of the getting them together. But when you say what you say, I believe the same. It especially now the way we are living our lives. That family portrait is very, very important to
it's
show
more
that
important
family
than ever.
connection,
Yeah.
to,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
and
Because
it's
we're
sad.
we're we are so we're so disconnected. Um, Schedules and activities, mobile phones are not helping in that sense, because even when we're all home together, we're all on our devices.
Well,
Uh,
yes, I was watching the
yeah.
television in our house. There was my wife, my children. We were all in the same room, all put the same program on, and I looked around, and everybody was looking at the phones and listening to the television. And it was like, what,
Yeah.
and it was a really good show
Yeah.
as well. And but everyone,
Right.
it's
Everyone's distracted in other places because your mind's in the people that you're talking to on the phone and all the things you're scrolling on social media, right? When you're supposedly having that family time together.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think just getting them together on a photograph to have that there is so special,
Yeah.
really, isn't it?
It is. It is. When families do come in for sessions with us, it's always so beautiful. They do get the effect of it. They do see a reason why it's important. The biggest hurdle is getting everyone to just kind of stop and be willing to take that
Take
pause.
time out to think, to think.
Yes.
When you
Yeah.
do a family, then how is it? Is it usually mum, dad, and the children, or do you tend to try and get extended? What
I
would
think it
you
depends on the
prefer?
makeup of the family, usually, and depending on what their needs are in the moment, right? Getting a nuclear family together is already hard enough. Getting an extended family together is like pulling tooth out of a dragon or out of a
Yeah,
dinosaur because they don't even exist anymore. So,
yeah. Yeah.
you know, but I think it just depends on the needs of each family at each point, and it also depends on the makeup of the family as well, right?
So if you were
Most of the
advising then, yeah, so if
yeah.
you were advising somebody else that was some part of the world that was thinking, right, I'm going to be a business person, I'm going to run a studio, and I'm going to go, what genre do you think would be the right genre to suddenly
Mm.
say this is the right? Because
Oh wow.
there's so many different variables on that,
There is no right
and I
genre
don't
though. Like I
no
wouldn't feel like there's a right genre. There
no
isn't. For me, the most important thing that I want to capture is connection, relationship, and helping people show up confidently. And so, whatever that might look like, whether it's relationship with self, relationship with others, relationship with another,
yeah.
confidence at work, confidence in your body, confidence in your relationship. I think it just what's most important is the why of the why of the why. Like okay, what do you love capturing? Why do you love capturing that? And why? And why? Right?
Do
I
you
don't think
believe
there will
do you
ever be
believe
any
you
perfect
found your
genre.
why?
I think so. It's something that I worked a long time because I didn't really feel like I was hitting it for a very long time, but I think I got there. I think that it also has evolved over the years, and I'm pretty sure
Right?
it will evolve again. But I think I have a good crux of it for the most part.
Yeah. Yes, when I think about my why, mine's changed over the
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
There's still remnants in everything that I've done that comes
Mm,
back to um, I like the creative process.
mm-hmm.
And I suppose that when you take it to a depth of anything, it's I like the creative process.
Yeah.
But then the communication and the is there so that yeah the whys can change, but there's
Yeah.
something fundamentally deep there, isn't there?
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, there's a broader sense can change all the time, I suppose, at,
Yeah.
in what you're doing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so if I was to then say to you, why would you not do anything else?
Mm,
Why would you say I like to do this? Is it why not anything else? Is
mm,
there anything else that you would suddenly go, ooh, yeah. If I wasn't a photographer,
yeah.
what else? Why photography?
I like to think that I have options. But I wouldn't know to say what it would be in this moment, especially because I became I'm an accidental photographer. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like it could just have been anything. I am a big believer. I'm a person of faith. I believe in God, and I believe that we all have a purpose on earth. And I believe that our paths and our journeys
So that's your
kind of
defined
flow for
path.
a reason.
It's been given to you this path has been gifted to you,
Yeah, I mean, giving to you, but yeah, I feel like we flow in different ways in different seasons and at different times. Um, so I wouldn't say like just giving to you in that sense, but it's also a process of discovery. So it
right?
also depends on where where that path of discovery takes me tomorrow. But it's not just for wishes of, oh, maybe I could be this or it could be that. But I know that for me, I where I am right now is where I'm supposed to be, and I don't
Okay.
know what that's going to look like tomorrow. But hopefully, I will be where I'm supposed to be tomorrow.
So if you could discover a different area of photography, is there any areas that you've negated and not suddenly gone, I haven't gone down that path and I maybe would have liked to, or is there a path that you just see is quite clear,
Mm. I don't feel like I have a lot of interest in other parts to do them. I have appreciation for them. You
right?
know, I look at abstract photography and architecture and landscape, and I appreciate the beauty that there is and wildlife and all that kind of stuff. But I don't fantasize about doing them.
Okay. So you would, so if you were going on a walk or going out with the family, would you go,
Yeah,
oh, I must take my camera?
no,
No.
I don't want to take my camera on a walk
Um,
with family. It's so interesting because um, so we just had family around the last week or so, and everybody thinks I'm the one who would want to take photo of everything, going on around. But I'm the one who wants to take it in. Usually, I want
yeah.
to take in that experience. If anything, yeah, we can carve out times for that, for photographs in the middle of all of that, and capture different parts of that. But especially because I feel like I'm always spending time doing other things. The family time, the little that I get is very important to me.
Hmm.
So I do want to be able to just take in the moments.
Yeah.
But I
And I
also
think
I
there's a lot
do
of
make time for
people,
photography.
yeah, there's a lot of people that you see and they go, I'm a photographer. And they then say, well, where's your camera? Why aren't you taking a camera everywhere? As if you should have one strapped to your hand permanently.
Right. Or
Whereas,
maybe we should just have an extension of our hand. That's a
yeah,
camera.
yeah. And I've always been one of these people, well, no, I'm a studio photographer. My
Mm,
camera's in a studio, and
yeah.
that's where my domain is.
Right.
It's like, I suppose, in a way, I'm trying to think what it could be like as a simile. I, sup- I don't know really. Yeah,
I mean, I don't think anybody would expect a medical doctor to move around the
operates
city
in the
with
middle of a field.
pamphlets and stethoscopes. I'm
Yeah,
hanging out with my family, so I have my stethoscope around me just in case one of
yeah.
them passes out,
I'm,
so I can operate on
I'm a
them.
surgeon and I'm going to operate in the middle of a field. It's not. It's in the
Right.
operating.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I suppose
I
that's
don't
the
suppose people
nearest.
have such expectations, right?
Yeah, it is, isn't it? You're still that doctor, but you don't. Yeah, and I suppose that's probably the nearest, isn't it? When you think of it in that way, it's because it is a funny thing. People do expect as if you're going to, oh, they'll take the camera and they'll be able to photograph anything, but
Yeah.
there's, it's very much a. I think so. Where's your happy place? Is it in the studio, or is it at the moment? Is it running the business? When do you prefer to
Mm.
be like, I'm behind the camera, I'm happy, or is it more the business? That little happy place at the moment,
I think I'm happier running the business. Um,
right?
I'm
Yeah,
happy behind the camera. I'm okay with that. But I think at this point where I am in my business, I'm definitely happier running the business. Um, for a variety of reasons, but I feel like that's kind of where I am.
and that's where your goal is, and there's absolutely nothing wrong
In
with
this
that because
moment,
that's
yeah, that's where my goal is.
yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think that's and that's good that you know that because if that's where you want to be, you can
Mhm.
structure everything around that, and
Yeah,
that's
so
part
true.
part of running a photography business and being a
Yep.
photographer. You know,
Yeah.
it's your life and it's the way you want to run it.
I
And
know. There's a
yeah,
song that comes to mind. I'm trying to remember something to that end of it. Still alive and living in it. Never mind. I can't remember what the song is.
well, thank you very, very much for your time, Caroline. It's been a pleasure chatting to
Absolutely.
you. And,
Awesome.
and I hope the business keeps growing and you get all those
Yes.
ducks in a row at some point in time, whatever they look like, whatever color they are.
I, I think the fun part of getting the ducks in a row is that today might just be one duck, and then tomorrow is we got to line up two ducks, and then it's going to be three ducks tomorrow. So depending on how many ducks I want to line up next.
Well, that's it. If you've
Right.
got one and it's stationary, it's in a row of itself, and
That's
that's all
it,
that
right?
matters, isn't it?
But if you've got five
Cool.
and then one is straying, and then you're like, oh, you got to get back. You got to get back. So yeah. Anyway,
Brilliant. Well, thank you very, very much. Cheers.
thank you, Andrew, for having me. Thank you so much.
If you've enjoyed today's episode, if you could just do me one favour, and that would be to like and subscribe, and I'll do my best to make sure Behind the Lens finds the best professional photographers from all over the world so we can enjoy their life stories. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.